across America. What we see is what they call redevelopment in the area and revitalization. And what we're seeing is new homes, new people coming into the neighborhood. Houston is a melting pot. What you see happening here is kind of setting.
And when you say new people coming, you're talking about white people.
They're white people. We got a lot of people of color coming too. So that's one of the pluses to it, is that we want to be this mixed community.
Okay.
And I think.
But the bad part about that is what that you're seeing?
The bad part about it is that we're seeing people who are coming to the neighborhood who have no knowledge of the history, meaning they don't have a deep respect for the history. And when we try to share or explain that to the people that are moving in, they're not from here. They didn't know, and at this point, they purchased their land here, so they have a right to build what they want and do what they want here.
Are those houses that they're building a good match for this neighborhood?
So I will say this. I can't say that everybody who's building in this neighborhood is a bad thing, because we do have some compatible architecture that's coming into the community. But we do have some that people don't know, again, the history, and they just come in and they see some lots and they purchase those lots, and then they're able to just build what they want. And so we see these shotgun-like townhomes that are coming into the community. We see some what we call these monstrous homes next to simple, cottages, bungalows with front porches that don't really fit the design that's here in the community.
But that also could eventually drive up taxes.
It definitely drives up taxes. We hear so many of our families saying, what are we going to do about the taxes here in this community? Some of them can apply for what we call exemptions, but once those exemptions are up, they still have to pay those taxes.
Have you seen anybody so far having to move out?
Yeah, we have people move out all the time. Some of them have moved out. We've got some of our seniors who are having to move out because they are, may not be able to afford the repairs that need to be done on the home. And some of the laws require that if the repairs cost more than the value of their home, then they can't get a permit. So they end up having to sell.
That's the reality. I'm joined by Gladys House from the historic 4th Ward and Kathy Buford Daniels from the 5th Ward, all activists in their communities. Glad to have you here. When you see a story like that on Independence Heights, one of the first black communities here in the state of Texas disappearing, does that give you pause? Let's begin with you, Kathy.
It actually does, because my family has lived in the 5th Ward for over 100 years. Actually, my mother's house was built over 100 years ago. And it does give us pause in that, as I've stated before and many times over, the people that move into the community are not good neighbors. They come in and because they don't have a love for the community, they don't care about the history that's engaged with the community. A lot of people don't know that Zydeco, for the most part, began in Frenchtown, which is part of 5th Ward. And so they'll come in, as stated, and put these $300,000 homes next to a $25,000, $30,000 bungalow. And it obviously, right now, for those that file exemption, it's affordable for those seniors. But once they die out and the heir property becomes available to their children or their grandchildren, they won't be able to afford it, because you've got a $25,000, $30,000 house next to a $300,000 house.
Now, Gladys, you live in Freedmanstown, where some individuals who used to be slaves became free. They built the streets with bricks, and they tried to dig those bricks up. The city of Houston tried to dig the bricks up and just throw them away. And so that's part of what you're seeing as well, no respect for the history of these communities.
That's true, Isaiah. Freedmanstown is the oldest Moorish American community in Houston. And the new homeowners, Europeans, said that, and they continue to say that we sing too loud in the church, we walk the streets too often, 2-year-olds cannot be on a little
So who are they telling that to? The cops or what?
Well, they tell it to the cops at funerals. When they say that we block off all the streets in the neighborhood during funerals. And I have to remind them, you moved into Freedmanstown. We didn't move into River Oaks or wherever you're from.
Now, let me take the devil's advocate from this perspective, Kathy. Let's take 5th Ward, for example, where there is some dilapidated housing, aging housing. And so if an individual come there and builds a new house or build new houses when new people come in, why does that hurt the community if those houses would go abandoned otherwise?
Well, again,